Hi there. In this lecture we see multiple times Czechoslovakian champion Karol Opocensky playing against Aleksandrovich Alekhine in 922 Bad Position tournament round 3. So e4 from Opocensky, we have a Sicilian defense from Alekhine, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, queen f3, maybe technically a little bit inaccurate. There are other ways of playing this position. Notably, knight c3, for example. So queen f3, though, is played. We have knight c6, c3. e5 is played because perhaps it can be reasoned that the d5 square is not such an exploitable hole here. It's difficult for a knight to jump into d5 because of c3 taken away. So maybe it's a justifiable, what you could call a justifiable risk to play e5. We have knight takes c6, and now d takes. So capturing away from the center. You might find this a bit strange, but it does activate the bishop. It does mean, actually, that bishop g4 is on the cards. If white's too casual, this could be dangerous. We see bishop g5. So here, bishop e7, and white just takes on f6. Bishop takes knight d2. Black castles, rook d1. So this is an intriguing move. b5 now. It looks as though Alekhine wants to play potentially queen a5 and bishop e6 without, say, bishop c4 at some point. If he played queen a5, bishop c4 holds the a2 pawn. That's a bit pedantic, but it does hold the a2 pawn, and this position's even. And if queen b6, knight b3 to hold b2, this position is also even. So b5 is interesting, not fearing knight c4. We have actually g4. If knight c4, queen e7, knight e3, isn't this useful for white? You might ask after knight f5. Not particularly necessarily. a3 might be the best move. If knight h6 check, if takes, queen takes, black can just play king h8. And let's say the knight goes back, then we can actually take on a2. So let's just say white protects the pawn here. We've got that bishop pair. Black should be fine, more than fine here. This is actually a slight advantage for black. If white, instead of knight e3, just castles, then that allows infiltration, rook d2. Okay, so anyway, g4, this does seem a bit fundamentally weakening on dark squares. But also there is this idea that white's light squares, like the a2 pawn is an unprotected pawn. That's actually hit with queen a5, tempo gainer. So is that useful to do that, queen a5? Well, it kind of is, in a way, because there's more light square weaknesses now. We have bishop g5, which is an interesting move. If queen a4 instead, it looks as though the queen might actually go into c2 to hit b2. If h4, let's say bishop e7, this position protecting against queen c2, bishop e6, black is standing pretty well actually here. Yes. Okay, maybe queen c2 is not so dangerous. I mean, black is better though in any case. But bishop g5 is played. We have bishop e2, which actually makes things slightly worse for white. If h4, g5, let's say queen a4, bishop d3 to hold against queen c2. If we take this position with queen b3, the problem is black's got this kind of minority attack potential, even unless 3 pawns each, but imagine the 2 attacking the 3 pawns, minority of 2 pawns hitting the 3. So actually, you know what, a5 is powerful here basically. b4 is the plan, which could cause some concern for white. This position, black's going to end up winning a pawn, and so black's going to be with the advantage. But bishop e2 actually makes things worse than h4 in a way. We have queen a4, h4. If rook c1 here, this is a nasty pin indeed. And this situation, black's about to build up on that d-file to win material. This is unacceptable for white to lose material like this. It's crushing. White will be busted. So h4, bishop f4, knight f1. We have now, this invitation to go into c2, knight g3. So the thing is, if bishop d3, well, we're just taking on b2. So knight g3, queen takes b2, knight h5. Is white getting any attack here? Black's just taking out pawns now. g5, bishop e6. And black doesn't mind about losing a pawn back. So we see white castling here. Doesn't want to lose c3, one would suspect. And that's with check as well. If queen takes, that's a bit of a punishment. So castles, but now f6. And in fact, white's king has a lot of weaknesses here. We have g takes being played. If e5, bishop d5 is cool. So what is white going to do? Lose c3, because that could be dangerous for queen h3 after. Things like queen h3 after, it's looking very dangerous. And if rook d3, queen takes e5, there's nice options. So rook takes d5 in this variation. It's not enough for white. This is not enough for white. Black's got a big advantage there. So after f6, g takes, white's king is actually pretty exposed now all of a sudden. It's not just about winning pawns on the queen side. Somehow the king side's also suffering pretty quickly now. After e5, rook g6 check, those weaknesses on the king side, the queen's quite quick to return back to actually threaten a mate sequence. So we have queen takes f4 trying to defend h4. So guess what is played here, which ends the game with 10 points? Bishop g4, just disconnecting the queen from h4. White resigned. If bishop takes g4, queen takes h4 check. And here, if the bishop moves, we're taking the queen. If king g2, rook takes g4 check, winning the queen. If here queen g3, bishop takes e2, winning material. If rook g1, if rook g1, queen takes h4 check, queen h3 is checkmate. An interesting game. A strong opponent. His position went a bit offside, allowing this queenside pressure, but also he was actually actively creating weaknesses to pick up on later on his king side. A fascinating game indeed. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks so much. Hi there. I hope you really enjoyed this YouTube video. It's actually a free sample lecture from my course Supercharge Your Chess Tactics by Punishing Mistakes, which can be seen at Kingscrusher TV, often with great discounts. So this course currently at 4.9 out of 5 with 179 students is a very, very big course. There's 69 sections, 179 lectures, 28 hours, 18 total length. You can see some free previews. If you use the expand all sections, there's some free preview videos as well. So this is all about mistakes and how they're punished, with Aleksandrovich Alekhine showing the brilliant combinations he did and tactics and combinations to punish those types of mistakes. This mistake dissection will really help your chess in reality compared to, say, training with puzzles, because we really should be understanding what types of mistakes to look out for in our own games to be able to punish those mistakes tactically. So this is a really important aspect, a skill aspect of chess generally, detecting, sensing mistakes intuitively, and then putting in the work, calculation, visualization, to see if you can really exploit those mistakes. So this is a really interesting course. It was really super interesting for me to do. I really think it enhanced my tactics a bit further as well. This is a really important skill area of chess, punishing mistakes generally. Okay, so I hope you check that out. And any comments on the YouTube video, the free sample, I really hope you can make some comments just to let you know, and help the algorithms, of course, of YouTube. So that would be great. If any comments, questions, like, shares are so much appreciated. Thanks very much.